So, welcome to the Bulkhead. My name is Greg Smith, also known as the laziest programmer in the world. And today I'm not going to review the new Star Trek Lower Decks show. I know a lot of people are going to be doing that. I don't see any point in doing it. But what I am going to review is the new show that comes after that called The Ready Room, and it's hosted by Will Wheaton. The Ready Room is something of a annoying phenomenon in modern streaming television, which is that apparently after every episode of a show, we have to have a bunch of boneheads sit around and tell us what we just saw and explain it to us. And the Ready Room is no different. It's trying to give us a lot of behind the scenes information by interviewing very quickly some of the lead voice actors and also by interviewing the showrunner and director or supervising director. So first off, I want to talk about the fact that the Ready Room is hosted by Will Wheaton. We're not going to talk about the show itself that much, but Will Wheaton actually is somebody that I didn't like on Next Gen. I thought his character was kind of whiny and a pain in the ass, and it just didn't make any sense in that series. And I think he's done pretty well for himself, considering that he had probably a great opportunity after Stand By Me, and then he went on Star Trek Next Gen, and really, I think it kind of tanked his career. But he still is in the Star Trek universe and doing really well for himself. Doesn't take himself seriously. I've seen him in a few things. He was on Big Bang Theory, and he actually is a guy that I think that I would enjoy meeting, unlike many of the other character or actors that I've seen come out of television. He then starts off this show, which is strangely enough a 31-minute episode, which talks about a 26-minute episode, which is some sort of irony. So it actually takes them 5 minutes longer to talk about the show that we just watched. Strange. This is very meta. This is a show reviewing the show that talks about the show we just saw. And so, as Will Wheaton says, if you haven't seen the Ready Room, be sure to watch Lower Decks. And by all means, if you want to watch the Bulkhead, please do watch the Ready Room before you do this. Lower Decks. I said I wasn't going to review it, but in recap, it's an animated show in the Star Trek universe, pretty much taking place at the same time as Next Generation. And a lot of the aesthetics of the show are really stolen directly from that era. The ship is supposed to be like a B-run ship, not so much as the Enterprise is like the Class A ship. They're very much a Class B ship, and a very much Class B crew. And the Lower Decks guys are all like, the ensigns who are like trying to keep the ship running while the guys on the bridge, shake it to bits. The strange name for this ship is the Cerritos, which for me sounds too much like Doritos. And it looks like the Enterprise, but upside down, which is also kind of weird. The showrunner is Mike McMahon. This guy, he reminds me of I'm trying to find a picture of him, but he reminds me of a character actor from television, and the guy who played Newman. He looks like that guy. And then the supervising director, and this guy. And here's a picture of those guys. The showrunner, I mean, they're both Star Trek geeks, which is great. I'm glad that they understand the lore of Star Trek. But this guy who's the supervising director, he really looks like this is just a pit stop for him. He's like, man, I'm just doing this for the money, and I need a resume builder. And once this thing is over, I'm going to go off and do something original. And they spend, God, it must have been like 25 minutes talking to these guys and asking them where they got their ideas. Basically, all they did was like watch Next Gen forever, and even the supervising director is talking about the fact that while the animators and everybody, the writers and everybody are doing their job, they've got Next Gen playing in the background to keep that aesthetic in mind as they go forward. And there was lots of name dropping. They talked about the Okudas and some of the other characters and some of the other actors who have been in Star Trek. The other thing that I noticed is that they did reference the animated series, which in my mind was a much more serious show. I said I'm not going to review Lower Decks, and I'm not, but Lower Decks is like almost the Orville in a lot of ways, in that like they're trying to make something funny out of an environment that really wasn't that funny. It's kind of dramatic. And Lower Decks, in my mind, I don't know who the demographic is for this show, because it's not funny to adults. And if you are a next gen fan, or an original series fan, or even DS9, you're going to get a lot of the Easter egg references, and you may think, nice, but really, there's nothing really original in this show that would make it worth watching, week after week. And Will Wheaton says he'll be back after episode 6 with another Ready Room, and I can wait. There really wasn't anything in Ready Room that made me want to watch again. They interviewed the 2 principals of the show, which is fine. And then next time they're going to interview the lead cast, the 4 characters in the lead. But the one nice thing that they did in this show, Ready Room, they did have some of the animatics that they use as sort of rough drawings or corkboard drawings for the show. So that was kind of a neat thing to see that. But then sadly, Will Wheaton told us that he had only scratched the surface. I don't want to see more of this Ready Room show. This is really, kind of a drag. It's a show about looking at a show that is really just saying, wouldn't it be funny if, and then whatever, MST 3000 joke you might make if you were watching Next Gen. So I can't say that I enjoyed this show very much. Still like Will Wheaton. I think he's a cool guy. But I'm not going to be tuning in for more of Ready Room, and I'm certainly not going to be turning in for more of the Cerritos or the Doritos in outer space in the form of Lower Decks. And a lot of what we're seeing coming out of CBS right now is sort of like fanboy wet dreams. Picard, I think, was a real disappointment. The final scene, okay, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Picard yet, I apologize, but the final scene where Riker's on the bridge of some starship and he saves Picard's ass is just a fanboy want, right? That's just like, wouldn't it be cool if we could see Riker again? And unfortunately, Discovery started off really well. I mean, it was really original, very exciting, and then devolved into like, hey, let's put them in the mirror universe. Hey, let's, just keep pulling like episodes out of original series and see what we can do. And then they flash forward them again. Spoiler alert, please, if you haven't seen the end of Discovery season 2, move on. They flash forward them into the future. It's as if they really don't know what they're doing with Discovery, and nobody can decide, and nobody's piloting the ship, so to speak. They even got rid of the showrunner like halfway through Discovery. And it turns out that the most interesting thing about Discovery was Commander Pike, from the Menagerie, which he was awesome. And that was the sort of character that we love about Star Trek. And it turns out that fans liked him so much that he's going to get his own series. And we're going to see our beloved TOS starship 10 years before Kirk arrives. So, the problem that I'm seeing is that, I'm sorry, friends, Star Trek as we know and love it is really dead. It died with Roddenberry. Even the family Roddenberrys are not carrying on in his tradition. And, Lower Decks is just, taking some stuff that, some guy did in a blog that, fans thought was funny, and some fan videos in the form of the red shirts videos, and turning it into an animation. I still can't figure out, who this appeals to. Is it kids? Is it teenagers who are supposed to like this? Certainly not adults. It's not funny enough for adults. It's not intellectual enough for adults. It's not something I think a 20-something would watch. So that gets it down to about like 16-year-olds, which I think they're too old for this. The characters are kind of their age in terms of the way they act. It really feels like it's aimed at like 11-year-olds. I'm sorry, guys. I can't recommend either Ready Room, which is really what we're interviewing or reviewing here today, or Lower Decks. And I don't see anything in the future of Star Trek that looks the least bit interesting. I hate to be the bearer of gloom and doom, but my friends, Star Trek is dead, Jim. And so, my friends, my name is Greg Smith. I am the laziest programmer in the world. and I wish you continued success.